Hello and welcome, viewers. Ever wondered how your daily activities might be contributing to a global crisis? As we go about our day-to-day lives, it's easy to overlook the larger picture. Every action we take, every product we consume, leaves a mark. This mark, often referred to as our carbon footprint, is an indicator of the amount of greenhouse gases we produce through our activities. It's like our personal contribution to the global tally of emissions, and it's a number that's growing day by day. But what does that mean, really? To understand this, we need to delve into the concept of global warming. You see, our planet has a natural blanket of sorts comprised of gases like carbon dioxide and methane. This blanket, known as the greenhouse effect, helps to keep our planet warm and hospitable. However, human activities, particularly the burning of fossil fuels, are causing an increase in the concentration of these gases in the atmosphere, thickening this blanket. This is where the problem starts. As the blanket thickens, more heat from the sun gets trapped within our atmosphere, leading to a rise in the average temperature of our planet. This, in essence, is global warming. Now you might ask, how significant can this warming be? Well, even a small rise in temperature can lead to drastic changes in our climate. We're talking about melting ice caps, rising sea levels, more intense storms, and devastating wildfires. The ripple effects of these changes can be seen in every aspect of life, from the food we eat to the air we breathe. So, coming back to the unavoidable question, how do our daily activities contribute to this crisis? Well, every time we drive a car, use electricity, or even throw away food, we are indirectly adding to the greenhouse gases in our atmosphere. It's a sobering thought, isn't it? But here's the thing. Awareness is the first step towards change. By acknowledging the part we play in global warming, we can start to make more informed choices in our daily lives. We can choose to reduce, reuse, and recycle. We can choose to support renewable energy. We can choose to leave a lighter footprint on our planet. It's time to face the truth. Global warming is real, and it's happening now. From the world's poorest communities to the global financial system, no one remains unaffected by the impacts of global warming. A recent initiative worth discussing is the Sharm el-Sheikh Adaptation Agenda, launched at the 27th Conference of Parties, better known as COP27. This ambitious global plan aims to assist the world's most vulnerable communities in adapting to the harsh realities of climate change. It outlines 30 goals to be achieved by the end of this decade. These goals range from promoting sustainable agriculture practices to establishing early warning systems for unpredictable weather events. The initiative also prioritizes restoring mangroves that serve as natural storm barriers and promoting clean cooking options to reduce indoor air pollution. But such transformative change comes with a hefty price tag. The agenda aims to mobilize up to $300 billion a year from private and public investors. Despite being the continent most vulnerable to climate change, Africa, which hosted its first COP, receives a mere 3% of total climate finance globally. It's clear that there's a pressing need for a significant influx of climate finance to make the Sharm el-Sheikh Adaptation Agenda a reality. Turning our attention to the United States, the Federal Reserve is also acknowledging the inescapable nature of climate change. They've taken a significant step by incorporating the impacts of global warming into their regulatory framework. This move entails understanding the potential effects of climate hazards on bank-held assets and the vulnerability of the financial system to sudden shifts in asset prices. The Fed is now scrutinizing how destructive storms and rising sea levels can impact coastal real estate values, or how threats to the energy sector's profitability can destabilize the financial system. By joining the network of central banks and supervisors for greening the financial system, the Fed is taking actionable steps to identify and manage climate-related financial risks. As we can see, the world is waking up to the reality of global warming. The United Nations isn't mincing words when it comes to global warming. The organization is gearing up to release a report on climate science, the first of its kind in 8 years. This report is anticipated to deliver starker warnings about the rapid warming of our planet and the potentially devastating impacts this may result in. What's unique about this report is the introduction of a revised carbon budget. This concept essentially gives us a measure of the amount of greenhouse gas emissions that can still be released before global temperatures rise more than 1.5 degrees Celsius. This budget, a figurative line in the sand, will serve as a guide for governments as they devise and implement their emissions-cutting strategies. The stakes couldn't be higher. Current projections emphasize the need to halve global emissions by the year 2030 and achieve net zero emissions by 2050. These targets aren't arbitrary. They are the calculated steps we need to take to prevent catastrophic global warming. The report is also expected to underscore the unprecedented nature of the climate change impacts we're already witnessing. Rising sea levels, melting ice cover, extreme weather events. These aren't distant predictions anymore, they are our present reality. The language used in the report is expected to be stronger than in previous iterations, reflecting the increasing severity of the planet's warming. This is not a drill, nor is it alarmist exaggeration. It's a call to attention, a stark reminder of the urgency and magnitude of the climate crisis. In a nutshell, this report will be a critical piece of the larger Sixth Assessment Report, or AR6, slated for release in 2022. This comprehensive examination will also delve into the impacts of climate change and the possible ways to mitigate emissions. The clock is ticking, and we need to act now. This is not about preserving the world for future generations anymore, it's about ensuring we have a world to live in, at all. The stark warnings from the United Nations serve as a sobering reminder of the urgent collective action needed to combat global warming. But what's happening right now? What are the visible effects of global warming? Well, let's take a look at the world around us. We're seeing impacts of climate change that are far from subtle. Sea levels are rising, a direct result of melting ice caps and glaciers, threatening coastal communities worldwide. In fact, according to NASA's climate news, this rise in sea levels is happening at an accelerated pace, faster than any time in the last 2 millennia. Then there's the issue of extreme weather. We're witnessing an increase in the frequency and intensity of weather events like hurricanes, heat waves, and droughts. These aren't isolated incidents either. They're part of a larger pattern linked directly to the warming of our planet. And let's not forget about the Arctic. Ice cover is melting at an alarming rate, threatening the survival of species like polar bears and seals. These changes in the Arctic are also disrupting weather patterns, leading to colder winters and hotter summers in many parts of the world. Climate change is also affecting our ecosystems. Coral reefs, known as the rainforests of the sea, are experiencing mass bleaching events due to warmer ocean temperatures. Forest fires are becoming more frequent and more intense, fueled by hotter, drier conditions. The impacts of climate change are also felt economically. The U.S. Federal Reserve is weaving the inescapable risks of climate change into its bank oversight, understanding the potential effects of climate hazards on bank-held assets and the vulnerability of the financial system to sudden shifts in asset prices. So the evidence is clear, the impacts of global warming are not just future threats but present realities. The rising sea levels, the melting ice, the extreme weather, they're all happening right now, and they're happening faster and with greater intensity than even some of the most pessimistic predictions suggested. These are not just predictions anymore, they are realities we're facing today. So what can you, as an individual, do to combat global warming? Well, there are numerous ways you can play a part in this global movement. The power to change the world starts right at your doorstep. Simple lifestyle changes can go a long way in reducing your carbon footprint. Firstly, consider your energy consumption. Turn off lights when you leave a room, unplug devices when they're not in use, and use energy-efficient appliances. By doing so, you're not only saving energy, but also cutting down on your electricity bills. It's a win-win. Secondly, adopt sustainable practices. This could be as simple as recycling and composting, or as ambitious as installing solar panels on your roof. Every bit counts. If you're a fan of gardening, why not plant a tree? It's a small step, but if we all did it, imagine the impact. Transportation is another area where you can make a difference. Consider biking, walking, or using public transport instead of driving. If you must drive, consider carpooling or switching to an electric vehicle. Next, let's talk about your diet. Did you know that meat production contributes significantly to greenhouse gas emissions? By reducing your meat consumption, you're not just improving your health, but also helping the planet. Supporting businesses that are environmentally responsible is another effective way to combat global warming. These are companies that are committed to sustainable practices, use renewable energy, and have a low carbon footprint. By choosing to spend your money with these businesses, you're voting for a greener future. Finally, stay informed. Knowledge is power. The more you understand about climate change, the more you can do to help. Participate in discussions, share what you've learned, and encourage others to do the same. Remember, every little action counts. Together, we can make a difference.